Hello, hello. Welcome back to what I imagine is part two of this tutorial layout, also with Cloud again.
Hi, I'm back. It's
Uh,
been a while.
mhm, mhm. So this is the lobby. So players that are in the lobby will be shown down here on the left, and this is where the host of the lobby gets to put the roles in. So as I was saying, at the game's core, you have town versus werewolves, and you also have some chaos roles. There are a lot. Let me stress this enough to you. I will show you guys in a moment. There are a lot of roles in this game. You don't have to
Yeah.
get familiar with all of them. Um, Take your time. It's just a learning curve that you can only get by simply by playing the game. So don't stress too much about not knowing a role if it gets brought up in game. There are ways around that and stuff like that. So we've got a basic werewolf, which is the wolf attacker, as I was saying. They hunt. Werewolf has no special abilities. We have a wolf support here. So this is what I was talking about, where wolf supports don't attack, and if the werewolf, for example, died, town would win. Now, these are what's called house rules, these gold cards over here. These are rules in which are added to the game to change the way the game works, essentially. What a lot of people run is floodgates. So the game starts on day one, round one, morning phase, debate phase. But this allows it so no players may be lynched on the first day. A lot of people use this by default because otherwise players just start random nominating day one, and
Yeah, pretty much.
so we'll put this on, and it's shown over here. People also use blood regime, so this allows wolf supports to hunt and become active threats. This just means that if a wolf attacker is dead, the game doesn't automatically end because it means the wolf support roles can select to hunt players as well. People also use this a lot by default, just because they like to, I guess, keep sort of the games going and feel like you've eliminated all the wolves as opposed to just happening to get the wolf attacker. So they throw this on as well. Another new-ish one that a lot of people use. Like you have a lot of various things like very situational. Like what's each morning a random mystery card is revealed in the roll list. So if you have, for example, like if instead of a jester over here, I had an any chaos token as the slot, or an any roll token as the slot, or the clone, or over here you have any wolf, or you can have the slot instead of werewolf. I could have wolf attacker, and it can spawn any one of these wolf attackers you see in the list. Uh, all Throne of Wisdom does is if the list was made up of varying tokens like this, non-specific tokens, I should say, as opposed to selected roles like I have here, Throne of Wisdom tells you what that slot is specifically. So if the Wolf Attack token was a werewolf that game, and day 3 came, the Throne of Wisdom card revealed that the Wolf Attacker role is werewolf. That's pretty much all that does. It's just like I said, the house rules just sort of change the layout of the game. Some very extreme, some not so much. And another one people use is Red Council. So normally players can't speak at night, but Red Council allows the wolf to communicate during the night. This is beautiful. I've had so much fun actually coordinating with my wolf team at night, and like this is a game changer in my opinion. So I'm just gonna leave it though. So what we have here is we have our werewolf, we have our puppet. So this is where special abilities come into play. So the puppet has link yourself to another player. If you are lynched, so are they. And it says discrete targeting, so it does not count as an active ability when targeting, only when triggered. So there are some roles that can detect abilities, things like that. So this just means like it's a non-detectable ability. But basically, if the puppet gets lynched, who they've selected with their ability will then also be lynched. We've got a bodyguard who is a town defender, and I'll go through those here actually. So wolf have simply wolf attack and wolf support, all with varying abilities. Town have the villager, which is just the crowd. So if you're lynched, the target player that you've selected will receive a negative vote for the rest of the game. So that means during voting trials, if they have a villager's guilt, they will always have a +1 vote. So they will have 1 vote by default if that's what the villager has done. So you've got town defenders who at their core have protection-like abilities. Like the bodyguard, simply each night protect a player. They can't be killed if they're protected. And you can't select the same target 2 times in a row. Simple. You have a captain. Each night both of your neighbors receive protection, but they're seen as villagers. Things like that. Town investigators collect information, like the seer, which we have in the deck. Each night the seer may inspect another player, and they check whether they are a wolf role or not. See, this is where it gets very specific. A seer can check if a player is a wolf or not. Whereas you have a mentalist, for example, you pick 2 players, you'll be informed if any of them are chaos. So you have roles that can find chaos. You see here chaotic surge. If there are no chaos roles left, your ability secretly detects wolf roles instead. So there's obviously roles that can find wolves, can find chaos. Sage, for example, if you lynch a chaos or wolf, you can check exactly what role another player is, things like that. So very, again, just gathering information. Town survivors have various survival-like requirements, I should say. A bruiser, if all villagers are killed, you'll turn into a werewolf. You have things like a lichen as well. If attacked by the wolves, you'll turn into a werewolf instead. So there are sort of like cards that run a risk of becoming wolves. Then you have other ones like a fisherman. So you pick a target and you gain a copy of any protection your target has. Things like that. You got town attackers, again, speaks for itself. Their basic ability set revolves around attacking. Town supports have a supportive role. An apprentice, if a town investigator dies, you will become that investigator role. Things like that. A diseased, if you're attacked, all wolf abilities are disabled the following night. Things like that support town in a way. Then you have special town, which are very niche abilities, like the Plague Lord, one of the chaos roles. The cleric is a role that only spawns with Plague Lord in the game, but it is not a guaranteed spawn with Plague Lord. But you are able to cure people of the plague. Just things like that. A traveler is just simply you start the game revealed. So just very special niche roles in my opinion. And obviously you can just add vague tokens like any town, any witch. As you see, there's like Witch of Moon, Witch of Blood, a town defender slot. Turncoats are those town survivors that have the capability of becoming wolves, so they have their own token as well. Otherwise you just have a town survivor token, and that's pretty much like the wide variety of town categories. And you can kind of figure out what they do based on their category. And even if you have town defender in the role list and someone claimed guardian, for example, you can just hover over the tokens in the game, and it will show you the list of possible spawns, and it gives you like a brief overview of that role anyway. So what we have is 1 bodyguard town defender, 1 town attacking hunter, town investors the seer, and we have 3 villagers. Chaos role, because I do want to showcase a chaos, and hopefully they do get themselves lynched. If you are lynched, the player that nominated you will die immediately, and your win condition is getting lynched. So it's very similar to the Poppet, but the Poppet has the ability to select who they want to take with them. The Jester simply kills who nominates them. So with that, let's just go into a bot match.
3,
Best voiceover, by the way.
They're very good.
You see, you hear that? So what it does at the start of every round is this. It'll showcase all of the cards that are in the deck. Cards/rolls, you know. And they're shown on the right-hand side. Players are on the left. And once it's done showcasing all of the cards that are going to be in this match, you'll see. So it shuffles the deck and it'll showcase my role to me. So I'm obviously the seer. I put an offering on that increased my chance of becoming a seer. Because obviously I just wanted to showcase sort of how to use an ability at night, etc. So because of Floodgates, as you can see, we're in the debate stage. And it's host controlled time, just so I can go at my own pace. So normally players would be lynching left, right, and center right now. So this is where people get the chance to talk. And we're just going to skip to the night phase. So because nobody was nominated, there's no defense, etc., etc. So this is where I use my ability at night to check if someone is a wolf or not. So let's say I check Mr. Coriander here. Ha ha ha. Because we all love puns. So I've used my ability and it says 9 will be investigated tonight. So if I skip to the next day, I'm dead. Well, fuck me.
Dang.
Jeez. So, but anyway, okay. It doesn't even matter if I'm dead. So, the morning phase, as you saw right here, morning phase, I was found dead. And my ability information. So you don't get the ability information at night, you get it during the morning phase. And see, I know that 9 is not a werewolf. And this is where like bots are just going to go start nominating each other. There's usually a little icon right here, similar to where you saw my night ability, where you can nominate people. And they obviously light up red, they step forward a little bit, you know. This is where people have the chance to claim. So I'm going to skip to the next round because we have 2 players up and it's fine. And this is where now only these 2 players that'll lit up red, nominated players, this is the defense speech phase where they have a chance to defend themselves. But because they're bots and there are no players pressing them, they may not actually claim anything. But either way, when we'll move on to the voting phase, this is where everybody, including them as well, by the way, players that are nominated also get a vote. Everybody will vote on who they want hanged. I don't know if they're all going to vote. I'm going to give them a chance to. And you'll see. Execution phase. 2 got 6 votes, 7 got 2 votes, 2 hangs, and their role is revealed to be a werewolf. So if that was a town, for example, like if that was any role, basically, their role would be revealed right here as a confirmation of this is what they were. Players that die at night, like myself, this role is not shown to the town, to the public. So I can see this because this was my role. However, other players won't see that if I died at night. So we can skip to the morning phase, where obviously no new information will come out. None of these roles really meet the requirements of morning phase information. Someone's got a nomination, and I will show you these buttons down on the bottom left. You have a notebook where you can keep track of, you know, this person claimed butterscotch cookie, you know.
Do you use it?
God no. Sometimes I do, but I usually just keep it in my head. I know it's not really a good habit.
Yeah.
This is also good, like I said, when you have a very vague role list. If this was like any town, any town, you know, and you found out that the role was a bodyguard, you can keep track of these things here. You have emotes where they would show up above your head. This is probably going to be your best friend. Now, while I can hover over here to see information about my role, or if someone claims a role, it'll show up here and you can hover over it for information, or on the right hand side here as well. However, if people are speaking about a role, let's say someone says, oh, such and such may be a puppet, and puppet wasn't in the list. This is your card library. So this is where you can go to see anything you want about all of the cards in the game. So let's say they, again, were discussing someone possibly being a puppet, and the puppet wasn't a shown role. You would come in here, you'd find puppet, you could hover over it to read its ability, and you would obviously then know how that card works, and every like relevant piece of information to that card. So that's if again, there's a role you don't know about. You can just simply go to card library. If you're a wolf and you want to fake claim something, this is a good place to sort of go and just gloss over some cards that you might want to claim. Again, some chaos claims, they have their own win conditions. Some are better suited to side town, others better suited to side werewolf, stuff like that. Again, it's chaos, it's in the name, they just do their own thing, create chaos, and you don't need to worry too much about that. So we've got 2 nominees, and we'll see how the voting goes. Players vote. And again, if this was a tied vote, you would see whenever this last player decides to vote, unless we just want to skip them. So it would say round 3 execution. If it said, for example, 3 got 3 votes, 1 got 3 votes, they would go to a second round of voting, to which they would vote again. If it was tied again, neither player would be hanged, and it would go to the 9th phase. So as you can see, 3 was lynched, and 3 was a villager, so their ability is to guilt somebody, and they chose to guilt 9 with a +1 permanent vote. So you get the idea where it's just the day plays out, you talk, you share information, you sort of try and deduce who could be lying. If again, like 3 villagers were hanged, and you could see 3 dead villagers, and you had a 4th villager claim, based on the roll list, you would know that that person is lying. So we have 2 nominees, we may as well skip. Let them speak, let them not, it doesn't really matter that much. So go to the voting. Hopefully they realize, that it doesn't really matter which one of them dies, So execution, 7 got 6 votes. He did claim Hunter, and now let's see. 7 shoots 9. So what happened there was Hunter's ability is select any living player as your target. When you die, you will kill that target. Now, it doesn't say lynching, it just says dying. So if a hunter is dead by any means necessary, whether that be at night or lynching, their ability will trigger. And he obviously chose to shoot 9.
9 deserved it.
So then morning phase happens, skips to debate phase if there was no information to share, like dead players and such. Just remember, we still have a puppet out there. So based on the roll list, as you can see, the seer is dead, the hunter is dead, the villager is dead. We don't know what 9 was, so his 2 nominees may as well go up. The jester could still be in play. So for example, today, you can see that day 5, 4 was nominated by player 1. So 4 happened to be the jester right here. And they were guilty, and they were executed. Based on the jester's ability, they would kill 1 today. Which I'm assuming is what's going to happen, or vice versa. So 1 was the puppet. Ready? So, did the puppet select... Okay, so the puppet's ability didn't trigger upon lynching because it did not select anybody. But yeah, then you kind of get the idea. Like, it's just a straightforward... if you remember how the phases go, you've got your morning phase where all your information is shared, like dead players or town investigators' information that they gather during the night. Then you have your debate phase where you can nominate players and such. And then the defense phase where nominated players get a chance to speak. And then you skip to the voting. Obviously, majority vote, gets lynched, and like you saw some unique things like Hunter's ability triggering when he died, killed someone else, Villager getting hanged and being able to bonus vote somebody else, stuff like that. Unfortunately, we didn't see the Jester or the Puppet, but it's pretty much what you witnessed with the Hunter, where the Hunter was dead and somebody else died as a result of that Hunter's ability. That's essentially what would happen in the same case as Puppet and Jester. And then again, like I said, you don't need to know all of this shit. Trust me, you really don't. You'll start to learn these things over time. Most people, again, also would just play with specific roles selected, like I have. And even still, again, like I said, it's mostly about deducing. You can kind of figure out if someone's full of shit or not. Like I said, if 3 villagers were dead and someone else is claiming a villager, you know that they don't fit and stuff like that. Like it's really just seeing through someone's bullshit, mostly, and just sort of having like a very vague understanding of the cards. So yeah, hopefully this helped and I didn't ramble too much, and it was an adequate example of how, like I said, house rules can change the game. Because when that werewolf died, again, if Blood Regime was not selected as a house rule, the game would have simply ended, rather than continuing because there was a puppet alive. And just how the phases work, the mourning phase, how abilities work, and hopefully this helped some people out. Because trust me, I was terrible when I first played this game as well. Everybody's terrible. The important thing is just sort of not feeling like any match really matters. If you win, that's great. If you lose, don't worry about it. If there's salt, ignore it, and just keep getting better, and you'll start to enjoy it more. Isn't that right, Cloud?
That's definitely correct.
Alright, I'm going to leave it at that, and I appreciate you guys for sticking around. Say bye, Cloud.
Bye.
No, you didn't say bye, Cloud. Wow.
Oh,
Wow, missed pun. Missed
Cloud.
pun.